have delayed in filing a response is having to do with the fact that Ms. Sherwood was, in your opinion, your prior attorney, and therefore you could not get another attorney.
Yes, sir.
I'm not addressing the issue because of the fact that you would have to file a motion to disqualify. Obviously, Ms. Sherwood is a competent attorney who would know what the rules of ethics are. If the Board of Professional Responsibility, advises her that she has a conflict, she'll act accordingly. There is no motion to disqualify her before me. So for that reason, all I can do is to consider whether or not to grant a default judgment.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Sherwood, in the interest of justice, I'm going to grant her 15 days to file an answer to this. I'm going to give you 15 days. You have to go through this complaint, and you're going to have to answer each paragraph, either admitted or denied. It's just that simple. And you file that with the clerk, and then you send a copy of that to Ms. Sherwood, okay?
Absolutely.
Until Ms. Sherwood removes herself from the case, if that is going to happen, then she is the attorney of record as far as this court is concerned.
Yes, sir.
Now, have a seat, and
Yes, sir.
I'll take up your motion for the extension of the restraining order, Ms. Sherwood.
We've already gone over most of the background, but what Ms. Burgess has done is basically perpetrate a fraud on Mr. Upchurch over the past several years. We don't really know at this point how far back it goes, but we do have express examples of it with respect to the property, the real property that we talked about. Blue Moon was created to protect Mr. Upchurch and the profits of his creative endeavors. We've already seen the email that is part of the evidence that we wanted to submit, that she states and admits that it was created to protect Mr. Upchurch. But yet she's selling the properties. Ms. Burgess has said through the email that you just saw where she's going to sell the Blue Moon property. She also said, if you look at in our memorandum in support of our temporary restraining order, there's an affidavit of Brandon Luce, and it should be the last few pages on that. And there's a March 21st, it's Exhibit 1 to the declaration of Brandon Luce. It's the last two pages of the
Exhibit 1 to the declaration of Brandon Luce.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I have it.
And it states, I need Rob to move out of the house he is living in. It is the property of Blue Moon. He cannot live there for free. I'm liquidating my company totally. So and then if you go to the Exhibit 2 of the declaration of Brandon Luce, she's talking about Rob is living in her house, and that she's going to be listing the property. That is that property that was number 2, Exhibit 2 on the declaration of Cynthia Sherwood. So she's talking about Rob Otera. He's living in a Blue Moon house. So this is highlighted, Your Honor, to show that there's this dispute as to ownership. Mr. Upchurch is sworn in his affidavit. He's spending millions of dollars on property, thinking that it belongs to him, thinking that the company belongs to him. Yet Ms. Upchurch Ms. Burgess has made it clear that she is the one who owns Blue Moon. She's going to liquidate Blue Moon. So that is, we have reason to believe that a lot of the money is gone, or if not all of the money is gone. But we don't know for sure, and won't know for sure until discovery is done. But if you look at the declaration, there is a Truist Bank account. They call it a garnishment return. That's Exhibit 7 to the Sherwood Declaration. And it talks about the checking accounts there, and there's essentially no money in any of these checking accounts. $4,200, $100, and negative $1,900. So we don't know where the money is, but we know that there is property out there that this court can protect until we can have a trial on the merits. So with respect to the evidence, you've got like I said, Mr. Upchurch's declaration. And if you just walk through it, Your Honor, he tells a very, sad, tragic tale. I mean, I guess it's not entirely unusual. It looks a little bit like reading, I don't know if you've ever watched those behind the scenes music specials. That's really where it is, where a manager has come along and taken advantage, and oftentimes it is the parent. But if you go, in paragraph 7, he talks about Miss Burgess becoming his business manager. And at that time, the money was run through Upchurch Enterprises. She was responsible for incorporating Upchurch Enterprises. And then he talks about the early years with Upchurch Enterprises and all of his money going into that. But then if you go over to page 4 in paragraph 31, he says that's where on December 9, 2019, in her role as business manager, Miss Burgess incorporated Blue Moon LLC. Now, while you won't see Miss Burgess listed anywhere specifically, because in the email she denied being his business manager, if you look at Exhibit 1 to Mr. Upchurch's declaration, you have the filings with the Secretary of State, and these aren't numbered, and I apologize, Your Honor, but the document filed on February 15th, 2022, it notes that Patricia Burgess is Ryan Upchurch's business manager. That was filed with the state of Tennessee. Blue Moon, Mr. Upchurch tells you in paragraph 32 of his declaration that Blue Moon is named after one of the songs he wrote. It was to be his corporate entity through which he booked his shows, and that would be the holding company for his touring and merchandise income. And Ms. Burgess essentially admits that in the February 5th email. And she says, this company was created to protect Ryan. Page 5, Mr. Upchurch says Blue Moon always has been a singer member LLC intended to be owned by him. But as we can see in the emails, Ms. Burgess is now claiming to be the owner, not just of Blue Moon, but all of the millions of dollars worth of properties that were purchased with Mr. Upchurch's money. Mr. Upchurch tells you in paragraph 40, thereafter, all of my earnings from touring and merchandise and sales were made payable to Blue Moon and deposited into Blue Moon's bank account. My income was the sole source of funds deposited into the Blue Moon account. The money that Ms. Burgess was previously putting in Upchurch Enterprises, it was now diverted, with his knowledge, to the Blue Moon account. All of my business expenses and majority of my personal expenses were paid out of the Blue Moon account. While operating as a business manager and manager of Blue Moon, Ms. Burgess claimed to be paying all of my expenses, and after all those were paid, giving me the remainder of my income earned. I believe she was stealing money from me from the inception, if not before. Paragraph 49, he says Blue Moon did not and does not have any revenue stream other than my revenue. Blue Moon is not a fee or revenue generating company. I entrusted Ms. Burgess as my agent, power of attorney, and business manager to maintain Blue Moon's books and perform duties beneficial to me as required by her fiduciary duties. Paragraph 51, he purchased, they call it Ghost Ranch. He purchased that house on August 21st, 2018. That is the one and only house. This is the one and only house that is actually titled in Mr. Upchurch's name. The other houses that Mr. Upchurch bought, and he says this, he goes through this extensively in his affidavit, but I won't go find the particular paragraph, but he tells you that he bought Clay Lick. He bought Clay Lick for him to live in.